Imagine this. You're sitting outside, maybe under the shade of a tree, and you are just poring over your science textbooks.
Right, because those CE examinations are looming.
Exactly. The pressure's completely on, and suddenly, right by your ear, psst, a small, fuzzy insect just zips past.
And, I mean, your very first instinct is probably to swat it away, right?
Oh, totally. But before you swing your hand, consider that that fuzzy little body is currently running like complex geometric calculations based on the sun's angle.
Yeah, while carrying a payload of electrostatic plant dust.
Right. And navigating a chemical communication network that honestly rivals human infrastructure. I'm talking, of course, about the honeybee.
Which is funny because it's so understandable to just see a buzzing insect as a distraction when you're, stressing out trying to memorize biology terms.
Yeah, just another bug bothering you.
Exactly. But that little creature is actually a living cheat sheet for your exams.
Hmm.
Like, understanding the biological and ecological mechanisms driving that bee, it's going to make your C preparation infinitely easier.
We are definitely moving past rote memorization today.
Oh, absolutely.
And that is the whole mission of this deep dive for you, the dedicated C student. We want to unpack the actual mechanics of the honeybee, the how and the why behind their classification, their anatomy, their frankly bizarre life cycle.
It really is bizarre.
Right. And of course, their massive impact on our world. So let's just start with what is actually flying past your ear. If we freeze frame that bee, what are we looking at biologically?
Well, fundamentally, we're looking at an organism built for just extreme efficiency. The honeybee belongs to the class Insecta.
Okay, so insecta.
Yeah, which means its physical architecture is strictly divided into three distinct sections. You've got the head at the front, the thorax right in the middle, and then the abdomen at the rear.
Head, thorax, abdomen.
Right. And attached to that central thorax, you're going to find 6 legs and 2 pairs of wings.
Wait, I actually want to pause on those wings for a second. Because 2 pairs means 4 wings total, right? But when you watch a bee, it doesn't really look like a dragonfly with 4 distinct long wings flapping around.
No, it doesn't. And that visual is actually pretty deceiving because of how they operate.
How so?
So those 2 pairs of wings, they actually hook together during flight.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they function almost like a single surface. And this dual wing structure allows for incredibly rapid movement. It gives them the aerodynamic ability to just hover perfectly still in midair.
Which they'd need to do, right, to stabilize over a flower that's blowing in the wind.
Exactly. It's like a highly stabilized helicopter mechanism.
Okay, so they're tiny helicopters.
Yeah.
But they're also covered in all this fuzz. Like, our sources specifically highlight these tiny hairs all over their bodies. Are those just, I don't know, for temperature control, or is there a functional purpose for gathering pollen?
Oh, it's highly functional. The hairs are specialized tools. As a bee flies through the air, it actually builds up a slight electrostatic charge.
Wait, like static electricity?
Exactly like static electricity.
Yeah.
So when it lands on a flower, that charge literally pulls the pollen grains off the plant and onto those tiny hairs.
No way.
Yeah, it acts less like a warm coat and more like a suit of biological Velcro that's designed to just trap plant matter.
A flying electrostatic Velcro suit.
That is wild. I mean, that makes the whole scientific classification thing a lot more interesting than just a boring list of Latin words to memorize.
It really does.
But for the C syllabus, students do need to know that specific taxonomy.
Right, the exact category.
So I kind of like to think of the scientific classification like a mailing address.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Yeah. So we start with the country. That's Kingdom Animalia.
Which simply establishes that they are multicellular organisms that consume organic material. So, that puts them in the same broad category as humans or birds or fish. Right. Then we narrow it down to the city, which is phylum Arthropoda. Now, I always found this term super tricky to remember when I was studying, but there is a physical reason they fall into this category, right? It isn't just an arbitrary label.
Not at all. Think about the physical structure we just discussed. Arthropoda actually comes from Greek roots, meaning jointed foot.
Jointed foot, okay.
Yeah. Any organism in this phylum has jointed limbs and an exoskeleton.
Meaning their skeleton is on the outside.
Right. A hard outer shell rather than internal bones.
Right.
So basically, if it has a crunchy exterior and jointed legs, it is an arthropod.
Crunchy exterior and jointed legs. Good tip for the exam. So then we filter down into the neighborhood, which is class Insecta, bringing us back to those 3 body parts and 6 legs.
Exactly.
And finally, we reach the specific house, their type or genus, which is Apis. So that's Animalia, Arthropoda, Insecta, Apis.
Perfect. Understanding that lineage, gives you the absolute blueprint of the animal.
Hmm.
And within that genus Apis, there are specific species that are highly relevant to human agriculture,
Right, especially here, like in Nepal, the foundation of apiculture.
which is the scientific rearing and management of bees.
Exactly, apiculture. It relies on three distinct types reared in the country, right? Apis cerana, Apis dorsata, and Apis mellifera.
That's right. Apis cerana, Apis dorsata, and Apis mellifera.
So if apiculture is the mass rearing of these bees in wooden boxes and stuff, it kind of forces us to look at how they interact with each other. Because a bee in a Velcro suit doesn't just fly around collecting pollen for itself, right?
Okay, not.
Our study material labels them as social insects, but how far does that social aspect actually go? Like, are they just roommates?
Oh, it goes to the absolute extreme of biology. Calling them social almost understates the reality of the hive.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, thousands of individual bees live together in a single colony, but they function essentially as a single organism.
Wow.
No individual honeybee can survive in isolation. They are entirely interdependent. They rely on this incredibly strict, rigid division of labor just to keep the colony alive.
Which brings us to the three specific job titles inside that colony. You've got the worker, the drone, and the queen.
Right.
But I actually want to challenge the label of queen here. Because when a student hears that word, the immediate image is like a ruler giving orders, the monarch of the hive telling everyone what to do.
Yeah, it's a huge misconception. Human political concepts rarely map accurately onto insect biology.
So she isn't sitting on a tiny throne.
Sadly, no. The queen is the only fertile female in the entire hive. And physically, she is the largest in size. There's only one present in a single hive.
Okay.
She does possess a stinger, but unlike the worker bees, hers does not have a barb on it.
Oh, meaning she can sting repeatedly without dying.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But her authority is not managerial. She isn't delegating tasks or yelling at workers to go find more nectar.
Her main job is just laying eggs.
It is a massive, relentless biological undertaking. She is the reproductive engine of the colony. The unity of the hive doesn't come from her giving orders. It comes from her biochemistry.
Her biochemistry.
Yeah, she constantly produces these special chemical compounds called pheromones.
Okay, I love this part. I've heard pheromones compared to like a Wi-Fi signal. Like she's the central processing unit broadcasting a status update to keep the rest of the hive online.
It's a really useful starting point for an analogy. But unlike a digital signal, pheromones are physical molecules, right? And they degrade over distance.
Right, because it's a smell.
Yes, the queen secretes these chemicals, and as they spread through the dark, crowded hive, they create a physical gradient. So the workers closest to her experience a very high concentration of the pheromone.
And what does that do to them?
It suppresses their own reproductive systems, and it dictates their immediate behavior. Then, as the pheromones spread outward, the concentration changes, signaling different tasks at different zones of the hive.
So she is literally building a chemical infrastructure. It's not a Wi-Fi signal, it's chemical glue. So what happens if, say, a predator attacks or something happens to her? That chemical production just stops.
Instantly, the gradient drops, the molecules dissipate, and within hours, the thousands of workers realize the chemical signature of their unity is just gone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, panic sets in. The colony's survival is threatened not because they lost a leader, but because they lost the chemical glue holding their society together.
That is deeply weird and fascinating.
Biology usually is.
Okay, so her primary physical output is laying thousands of eggs, which ties directly into the next major concept for the E exam, which is the life cycle.
Right.
We have to get from a tiny egg inside a honeycomb cell to a fully functional adult bee in a Velcro suit.
This is a story of complete biological transformation, and it occurs in 4 distinct stages. The sequence is non-negotiable for the exam. You have to know it.
Okay, lay it out.
It goes egg, larva, pupa, and adult.
Egg, larva, pupa, adult. Got it.
So it starts when the queen deposits a single tiny egg into a hexagonal wax cell. After a few days, that egg hatches into the larva stage.
And what does that look like? Like a tiny bee?
Not even close. If you look inside the cell at this point, you won't see anything resembling an insect. You'll see a tiny, white, segmented grub. It is blind, it has no legs, and it is entirely helpless.
Gross. Which means the workers have to feed it, right?
They do.
And our sources point out a very specific shift in what that grub eats as it grows, which is super important for the exam.
The dietary shift is critical to their development. For the first few days of the larval stage, the worker bees secrete a highly specialized, nutrient-dense food called royal jelly.
Royal jelly.
Yes, and they feed this to the grub. It's basically a massive injection of proteins and vitamins designed to kickstart rapid cellular growth.
Okay, so let's unpack this. It's kind of like they start out on an incredibly high-tech biological baby formula,
That's a great way to think of it.
but they don't stay on it forever.
They do not. As the larva rapidly expands in size and its digestive capabilities change, the workers actually transition its diet.
They wean it off the formula.
Exactly. They stop feeding it royal jelly, and they switch to a mixture of pollen and nectar, which are the standard resources they harvest from flowers.
So they graduate from the specialized formula straight to the solid foods of the adult bee world.
Precisely.
So the larva is eating, it is growing, it is filling up that little wax cell. Then we hit the third stage, the pupa. The sources say the larva spins a cocoon around itself. And I think a lot of people just picture a caterpillar wrapping itself up in a cozy sleeping bag, to just take a nap and grow wings.
Yeah, calling it a nap variously underplays the violence and the complexity of metamorphosis.
Violent. Wait, what?
Oh, yeah. When that larva seals itself inside the cocoon to become a pupa, it isn't just resting. The biological term is histolysis. The internal structures of that grub literally break down.
What do you mean break down?
Its body digests its own tissues. It turns into a disorganized cellular soup.
Wait, it dissolves itself like completely.
Essentially, yes. Inside that cocoon, it's liquid. But certain specialized groups of cells survive this breakdown. These are called imaginal discs.
Imaginal discs.
Okay. And using the nutrient soup created by the dissolved grub body, these discs rapidly multiply and begin constructing an entirely new architecture.
That is insane.
They build the 3 distinct body segments. They form the 6 jointed legs. The 2 pairs of wings develop, and the electrostatic hairs sprout.
So it's basically a biological dismantling chamber. It completely recycles its own body mass to build the adult form.
Exactly. Now, exactly how long this whole process takes, the specific day counts, isn't heavily emphasized in the C materials we are reviewing.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah, the sources highlight the sequence and the transformation. So listeners shouldn't panic about memorizing the exact time duration for each stage. Focus on the mechanism.
Right, because understanding the dietary shift in the larval stage and that crazy physical reorganization in the pupal stage, that demonstrates a much deeper grasp of the biology than simply reciting numbers on a flashcard.
Exactly. That's what examiners want to see.
Okay, so after this incredible dismantling and rebuilding, the 4th stage arrives, adult. The adult bee chews its way out of the cocoon. It wakes up in a dark box, surrounded by tens of thousands of siblings. It needs to figure out its environment. Which brings us to their habitat and how they communicate.
Right. Habitat for a honeybee is dictated by resources. Whether they are building a natural hive inside the cavity of a hollow tree, outdoors in a sheltered space, or living in the wooden boxes kept by beekeepers.
Tying back into apiculture.
Right. Regardless of the container, their geographic requirements are the same. They seek warm, sunny areas with immediate access to blooming, nectar, and pollen-rich plants.
Because that pollen and nectar is the foundational fuel for the entire colony.
Exactly.
But here is the major logistical problem I'm seeing. You have this dark, crowded city inside the tree or the box. You have thousands of workers who need to go out, find the flowers, and bring the food back. How do they coordinate? Because it's not like they have maps. They don't have a morning briefing.
They rely on 2 primary modes of communication. They have an amazing secret language. We already mentioned the first one. Smells, or pheromones.
Right, the chemical Wi-Fi.
Yes. So if a worker bee is attacked at the entrance to the hive, it instantly secretes an alarm pheromone. The smell drifts rapidly, and any bee that detects those specific molecules is instantly triggered into a defensive, aggressive state to protect the hive.
It's like a chemical warning siren.
Exactly. It keeps them organized and safe.
But smells can only convey so much information, right? They can say danger or queen is here, but they can't give you turn-by-turn directions to a patch of sunflowers 3 miles away.
Which is why the honeybee developed what is arguably the most sophisticated non-primate language on Earth.
Yeah.
The waggle dance.
Yes, I get incredibly enthusiastic about the waggle dance because our sources mention they use this physical movement to give directions.
They do.
Break down the mechanics of this for me because it sounds like magic. A bee finds a flower, flies back to the dark hive, and does an interpretive dance to tell the others exactly where to go.
Wait, so they're basically using interpretive dance as a miniature GPS system for the rest of the hive?
That is exactly what they're doing. It is pure geometry translated into movement.
Okay, how?
Well, when a scout bee finds a highly profitable patch of flowers, it returns to the hive and climbs onto the vertical wax combs. Surrounded by other workers in the dark, It begins to walk in a figure-8 pattern.
A figure eight.
Right. And the middle section of that figure-8, the straight line where it shakes or waggles its abdomen, is where the data is actually transmitted.
How are the other bees reading data from a waggle in the dark?
Through two variables, duration and angle. So the length of time the bee spends waggling its body on that straight line correlates directly to the distance of the flowers from the hive.
Oh, so a longer waggle means a longer flight. That gives them the exact mileage.
Okay, but how does it tell them which direction to fly? There is no sun inside the dark hive to point out.
This is the genius part. They use the vertical pull of gravity as a stand-in for the sun.
Wait, what?
Yeah. If the bee waggles while walking straight up the honeycomb, it is telling the others to fly directly toward the sun.
Okay.
If it angles its waggle, say 20 degrees to the right of vertical, it is instructing the receiving bees to leave the hives and fly 20 degrees to the right of the sun's current position in the sky.
That is absolutely staggering. I mean, they are taking spatial coordinates, calculating the angle of the sun, translating that into an angle against gravity and total darkness.
Yes.
And the other bees are just feeling those vibrations, memorizing the math, and flying to the exact spot.
It demonstrates a level of social intelligence and abstract communication that just forces us to completely rethink how we view insects. They aren't just flying randomly. They are maintaining an active, constantly updating map of their surrounding ecosystem.
That is mind-blowing, and it perfectly sets up our final section for the C syllabus.
The big picture.
Exactly. We have zoomed way in on how they live and talk. We looked at their joints, their chemical infrastructure, their dissolving pupa stage, and their geometric dancing. But now we have to zoom out. We have to look at the economic and ecological importance of the honeybee. Basically, why does this tiny dancing insect matter to you, the listener, and the whole world?
Because without them, the architecture of our own survival becomes extremely precarious. Let's look at their economic value or useful importance first. The immediate thought is usually apiculture. Humans have been rearing bees in boxes for millennia to harvest honey.
Right. The sources explicitly note the significant nutritional values of honey for humans. It is calorie dense, it doesn't spoil easily, it's used in medicine. It is easy to just think, bees equal honey.
It's the most visible product. But framing them merely as honey producers misses the actual economic superpower they possess.
This is a major aha moment for students studying for the Hiki.
It really is. The honey is a microscopic fraction of their true value. Their primary economic importance lies in their role as hardworking pollinators.
This is where that electrostatic Velcro suit comes back into play, right?
Precisely. When a worker bee lands on an apple blossom to drink nectar, pollen grains cling to its hairs. When it flies to the next apple blossom, some of those grains rub off.
Cross-pollination.
Exactly. This accidental transfer of genetic material is how the plant reproduces. By helping plants grow and fruits form, they vastly increase crop production. It is the catalyst that tells the plant to grow an apple.
So they are doing the biological heavy lifting for our farms. They are basically the unpaid farm workers keeping the entire agricultural system afloat.
On an industrial scale, yes.
Yeah.
The global agricultural system relies on this to yield a viable harvest. Without them, many of the foods we enjoy simply wouldn't exist.
Right. If the honeybees suddenly stopped doing their geometric dances and stopped visiting flowers, it wouldn't just mean a shortage of honey in the grocery store. It would mean a catastrophic drop in overall food supply.
And their ecological importance extends far beyond human agriculture. In wild environments, that same pollination mechanism ensures the survival and reproduction of native forests, grasslands, and wild plant species.
Which in turn feeds the rest of the animal kingdom.
Exactly. They're a keystone species. The honey they produce in wild hives serves as a vital food source for many other animals in nature, like bears and birds. Even the bees themselves are a foundational protein source in the food web. If you remove the honeybee, the cascading effects would just collapse multiple ecosystems.
They are the tiny buzzing pillars of the natural world.
Beautifully put.
So for the student listening right now, staring down the C exam, let's just tie all these threads together into a nice, calm recap. How should they synthesize this deep dive into a mental framework for test day?
Well, walk through the mechanisms logically. Start with their scientific blueprint.
Yeah.
They are in kingdom Animalia, phylum Arthropoda, because of their jointed legs, specifically class Insecta with the three-part body head, thorax, abdomen, and 6 legs. And they're categorized under the genus Apis.
Right. And for Nepal apiculture, that's Apis cerana, dorsata, and mellifera.
Exactly. Then remember their social structure. They are highly organized, interdependent social insects, anchored by the queen's complex chemical infrastructure of pheromones, with workers and drones playing their specific roles.
Chemical Wi-Fi. Then follow the biology of how they grow.
Trace the four-stage life cycle: egg, larva, pupa, and adult. Remember the crucial dietary shift in the larval stage, from royal jelly to pollen and nectar. And don't forget the absolute cellular breakdown that occurs inside the pupal cocoon.
Cellular soup.
Right. From there, recall how the adults navigate, seeking warm, sunny, nectar-rich habitats and utilizing the waggle dance to translate solar geometry into flight directions for the rest of the hive.
And finally, anchor all of those biological facts in their ultimate impact.
They're ecological and economic pillars. They are not just honey producers, they are the critical pollinators that vastly increase crop production and maintain the stability of the natural food web. If you understand the mechanisms behind those facts, you won't need to struggle with rote memorization. The logic of the honeybee survival explains itself.
It really is the ultimate biological cheat sheet. So I want to leave you with one final inspiring thought. Tomorrow, when you take a break from studying and step outside, pay attention. Next time a funny honeybee zips past your ear, don't swat at it. Just think that tiny creature with a 3-part body and 2 pairs of wings might be on its way back to perform a waggle dance that ensures the crops in your neighborhood continue to grow. It is a tiny insect holding the weight of our entire ecosystem on its wings. Best of luck on the SE examinations.